It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports, Pete.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. That's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
Just use AppPace.
Pace.
With Ease US makes studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. Ulike.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
It is the Pete Sousa Show. Cam, I just sent you a message. Do you have any update on that? I mean, the world.
It says we're live on it. I'll take
we're
a
not.
screenshot.
I can't find it. And yesterday we weren't.
Okay.
Huh?
All right. I'll do it while you're doing this.
Did you look into it? It does say we're live.
Yeah, it says we're live on it. You know, that's what it's always. That's what it was last week, and we were live on it. So
okay, now I can see it now. I see it. Yeah.
Right. Well, glad we got to the bottom of this.
Well, I can't see it anywhere though. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out. Because that's a big.
I'll look into it while you do this.
Yeah, look into it real quick. Because I can't find it anywhere. Can you? Okay. Well, you know what? We'll leave Cam to handle that. Let me know if you figure it out, Cam. This is the Pete Sousa Show, by the way. we are brought to you by Slovacics. And boy, let me tell you something. We are happy to be here with you today. Let me adjust the chair. I got a lot to say this morning before we get to our guest, Doug McNamee, athletic director of Baylor University. We had a great chat with him yesterday for about 20 minutes. Want to share that with you. We covered everything from, hey, you guys going to sell beer at McLean Stadium or Foster Pavilion? How do you want to compete in the NIL with some pumped up schools and programs, right? And athletic departments like BYU, which we saw last night, took it to the boys, the Baylor men's basketball team. Another furious, like late rally, right? For BYU or for Baylor, I'm sorry, against BYU. And it couldn't get it done. And that's a familiar thing. That's always like when you have a scrappy team that's bad, it reminds me of when I used to work with the Charlotte Bobcats. And I'm not trying to put Baylor into the categories like an expansion team, but it's like you got a bunch of really good guys who really want to play. And they seem like they're playing for the right reasons. This isn't like last year at times, even though that team made the tournament, they were more talented, but it was tough. It was almost a tougher watch, especially when you started to learn behind the scenes, like what was going on with guys like Jeremy Roach. Not like he was a bad dude, but there was, Baylor had been sold a bill of goods on him. And that obviously didn't go the way they wanted it to. This year's a little different. Like these guys really do bust their ass playing wire to wire. But when you got, look, James Najee played 6 minutes. Outside of that, you had 6 other guys who played. Okay. And you could say that Baylor ran out of gas, but when you look at the opposite box score and you have Rob Wright and AJ DiBonsa both playing 40 minutes, it's like, did you really run out of gas or did you just get beat? I think they just got beat. And we had mentioned it last night or yesterday about Rob Wright coming back to Waco and playing this game. And I loved Rob's quote afterwards. He said, this is definitely what I expected. I remember when we played LJ here last year. So I was expecting that. I think I handled it pretty well. And then Kevin Young said about Rob's performance, hey, Rob's a mature guy. Rob is very mature. Obviously, he played amazing. Well, what does amazing look like? 40 minutes, I mentioned that. 30 points on 12 of 21 shooting. 30 points. 5 rebounds and 7 assists. Scott Drew's quote after the game. There's a reason why we loved him so much. It's funny. I appreciate Coach Drew and being like, hey, the war's over. There's a reason why we love, because I was thinking about Rob yesterday. We interviewed Rob for my show and it was a Baylor initiative that no longer exists. I actually forget what it was, but they were having me do the interview. So I interviewed Rob last fall or the fall before last fall. So fall of 24. And it was just so obvious. Me being from Philly, he played in the Philly Catholic League. That's where I played. So we had a little bit of a connection there. And he was just such a good guy. It was very clear that he was raised the right way and just he's a really good kid. And a lot of stuff that happened beyond his control. And, maybe his dad was involved in that. But I think a good kid like that is raised by a good dad. So it's not even a knock on his dad. Money makes people insane. And, Rob Wright or people in the college basketball world are no different from white collar criminals who go crazy trying to, make stuff happen financially for themselves and for the people they're working with. So it's not necessarily an indictment on Rob or Rob's family anymore. I don't think. I think that Baylor was very hurt by what happened, and it's nobody's going to prison over this. So it was within the rules, but it just sucked. Morally, it was a tough one for everybody on the Baylor side. But last night, like Scott said, we saw why this kid is so magnificent. First of all, one thing about his quote was so revealing, right? The fact that, and I'm telling you, it's a little bit of a different era, and he's a very young person, but the fact that he thought, okay, I saw this when LJ came back last year, because LJ Cryer obviously leaving Baylor for Houston. Now there wasn't that type of sour taste in the mouth of fans, Baylor fans, not even close to the level that there was for Rob. And part of that is because Scott Drew has kind of led the charge of, I hate to say negativity with Scott Drew's name, but you get what I'm saying, had led the charge of, hey, what happened to us was wrong. You guys need to come out, support us, and be pissed. And that's what they did. I was driving from Waco to Dallas. I had the first 20 minutes on in the car, and I was listening to Greg Wrubell, BYU's play-by-play guy. And, I wasn't in the building last night, but Greg said, hey, at one point he said, it's so loud in here, I couldn't hear the whistle right there. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then you got to watch a shootout. Tunde Yesufu had an amazing game. AJ DeBonsa, 36 points to go with Rob's 30. And Cam did a fantastic job. He put up a really cool short yesterday. It kind of makes me look like an asshole, but that's fine. I was a little worried about what the Big 12 might think, but that's fine. I mean, if I say stuff on here, I'd certainly better be ready for anybody to cut it up. But I was watching the short yesterday. I was like, dude, take it easy. But I do believe that AJ DeBonsa is, in my book, a much better pick for your number one overall draft pick than Darren Peterson. And last night was a two-pronged example. One, the guy played 40 minutes. Two, he scored 36 points. That's it. It's over. And really, I'm starting to now dig deeper into this, like, and the AJ Peterson debate, right? Because it's Big 12 centric, but it also is nationally specific, because these could be the guys we're talking about, 1 and 2. He's the son of and I need to do more background on Darren Peterson's family. I'm sure they're awesome. Again, all accounts, great kid, right? Facts. Heard that over and over again. But his teammates like him and all that. But there's something weird going on there, obviously, with his availability and whatnot. But when you think about the difference between the two, I do know, having, when you call a game for a team, you look a lot into the background of star players. And one of the things that came up was, AJ's dad was a police officer in Boston for like 20 plus years at Boston University. Like his mom and his dad are like super involved, but like in the best way possible. I could tell you how his mom and dad met. They met in the parking lot of a YMCA, both finishing up workouts, both not from America. And they fell in love. Mr. Wright, Ace DeBonsa, noticed this attractive woman and like circled around the parking lot when he was leaving. And then, like, I guess he asked her out on a date. It's really cool, like love story, whatever. And, they've been together ever since, obviously. And this is just like I'm, if you can't tell, like, I'm really on the DeBonsa deal. And Scotty B, the Baylor King, is on it too. Right. I'm with you, Scotty B. If only we could be in the draft room for one of these teams that's making the NBA or contributing to making the NBA a horrific product. And we're going to tap into that like shortly, really quick. One of the things that's so Baylor, like, and hey, we're waking up this morning, we're talking about this game, and as we have Doug McNamee and our conversation with him coming up next, we're not talking about Baylor fans saying something real crappy about BYU players and BYU and the church, right? Which other schools have done this year and last year. But what were Baylor fans shouting when he was introduced? As the quote in the paper today, traitor! Like, it's like, how Baylor is that? Like, like you introduce the guy and it's like, you're a traitor. It's like, we can do better than that, right? Cam, what did you think about your folks yesterday at Foster Pavilion? How Baylor is that? Like, you wouldn't hear that at a Celtics game when Kyrie Irving comes back, would you? Would you hear people yelling, traitor?
Probably not in so many words, I guess. I mean, it's perfect opportunity to throw a Judas out there. A couple of religious schools. I was hearing they were being muzzled a little bit, Pete. I was hearing there were signs taken away in the student section.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay,
I heard that from people that were in the building.
Gar, give me the update. So what was the deal?
So obviously I don't know exactly what was on the signs, but people that were within the student section were saying, one of them just said like traitor, in like a number 1, and that one was taken away, but like that they were looked at before they even got into the student section, and were reminded that they shouldn't be attacking any one player, which I think is interesting considering what Scott Drew basically said the day before of like, hey, man, as long as it's fair kind of thing.
Yeah, anything short of major league profanity over and over again and, anything anti-Semitic, I think is in bounds, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say anything that attacks, a religion or a creed or a race or whatever is over the line. But yeah,
always.
I do think there was a lot more in play that we didn't quite get from the Baylor fans, probably, and nothing directed at Rob Wright's dad, which I think is interesting. Because hey, if you have any reservations about going after a kid who's making $3.5 million a year, then you can go after his dad, who was not physically, but like who was there, and was probably the linchpin behind this whole thing, this whole move, of him going to BYU from all the reports that we heard, but no daddy's boy or anything like that.
Yeah, that would have been good. Hey, what about
you got to learn from the Bean Pot, man. I tell you, I was at the Bean Pot Monday night. Those were some chants. They were getting after.
Hey, now this is what I want to ask you.
Yeah.
What was the most, because it just hit me, and I have one that I witnessed. I actually have two that are really bad connected to Villanova. But what was the worst thing that you ever witnessed in person at a game, like a fan going over the line before being like escorted out?
Oh man. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
That is tough. And honestly, I go back to like high school games. There was one where there was a quasi-racial chant against one of our players at a high school game, which was just wild. But there was another, we were playing our crosstown rivals, again, high school, like not crosstown, next town over. It's basically the same town, just in a different spot, right? Socioeconomically and everything like that. And they got like a sing-song going at a basketball game, and it was Rockland girls have STDs, STDs, STDs. That one was pretty brutal.
So
shout out to Abington. Yeah.
Mine was, I was at the Philadelphia Spectrum in 1994. I was a senior in high school. It was actually the day I learned to day drink. I guess it was 95.
I love that.
It was January 95. I had gone out, I'm going to Richmond. I got like the whole deal, football scholarship. I think, ego's out of control. I go to a party the night before. I obviously like imbibe. And then the next morning, I can remember I woke up. I have a great memory, by the way, even through all this. I think I was passed out like next to my dog, Max. And my brothers came home from the bar, Smokey Joe's they worked at. They were real winners, right? They're still like what are they doing at mom and dad's house up the road? I don't know. But so they come back home, maybe just to mess with me. But they were giving me a hard time for passing out next to the dog, Max. I wake up the next morning and it's like, oh, we're going to Villanova, Georgetown at noon at the Spectrum. And I remember walking over to the fridge and being like, it's Coors Light in here. And having a couple Coors Light at like 10:30 and being like, wow, that worked. That's like the alcoholic mind. Like that's, yeah. And now here I sit sober many years later. That's not normal. But I get to the game and it was an awesome atmosphere. We had
by the way, I just real quick, I know you've had your troubles. It's okay to do that once in a while if you're a kid. All right. Like that's actually the perfect scenario to be doing that. Just keep it under control. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's these poor Villanova kids listening. They're getting that Catholic guilt from you right now.
Yeah, no.
Just keep it under wraps.
Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out. I was in high school. It was not normal. Okay,
well,
I was in
high school. All right. Well,
I was in high school.
The grace of God go I guess.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah.
But we get to the game and there was a guy running around in prison garb, running around the court because Allen Iverson had gone through what he went through.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, it's funny knowing now, like how wrong that situation, like that was like, and you wonder why Allen Iverson was so pissed at times. Like seriously,
right?
Like that incident was a total friggin' sham.
And that was seen as fair game.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It was like fine. Like then that's the era we lived in. Think about that. If that happened today,
I get some stories like this, by the way. Go ahead.
Yeah, but if that happened today, we would have way more people being like, "Whoa, this kid was wronged." We have more evidence that's been brought. He was pardoned for a reason, and da da da. But no, at that time it was like So this guy's got a suit running around the court. And I think John Thompson was like, we're going to take our team off the floor if this guy is not, ejected.
Ooh,
and he was ejected. But I remember like my mom was like disappointed because years before that, and this is like the ultimate like mortal sin, somebody threw a banana against the backboard when Villanova was playing Georgetown at the Spectrum. Same deal. Like, Villanova kids, seriously, you entitled pricks. Like there's a lot of like honestly, like Villanova didn't just become this like nouveau riche like campus after winning a couple of championships in like the mid tens. Like, no. This was they were at that. They were born on third base and thought they hit a triple a long time ago. Now, an amazing school and amazing people in my life from that school, but you get the idea.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, speaking of that, the stories that I got growing up were when my dad was at Duke.
Tell me.
Before they really started winning. Like, this was early Krzyzewski. The year after my dad left was when they made the national championship game for the first time at '86. And they, Cameron Crazies, man, they do their homework. And they had a player who I think was playing for State who came in and had gotten an SA charge the summer before. And
sexual assault.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not walking around.
Yeah, but YouTube doesn't like that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Good call.
And the fans were throwing women's undergarments onto the court as the other team came out. So, and this was, by the way, NC State, where they would chant, "If you can't go to college, go to state. If you can't go to state, go to jail." Which was a good one.
No, that's a great. That's awesome.
Well, they had a bunch of stuff like that was within bounds, So like UVA, which is known as Mr. Jefferson's University. Thomas Jefferson founded it. Yeah. They used to hang a banner over where UVA would come out of the tunnel that said George Jefferson's University. It's like good stuff like that. They also had Maryland. Had a guy who would come out and warm-ups and wave the Maryland flag. And this, the Crazies would get in like 2 hours before the game. And it was two sides, opposite each other. You've seen Cameron, obviously. And to kind of pass the time before games, they would have tennis balls. And they would just like throw them to each other. And they love doing that. And they love 2-word chants because of how the student sections are set up. And so they were getting after it. This Maryland guy who's my dad would tell me he's probably 300 pounds, comes out and is waving the big ugly flag at midcourt. And the Crazies get their tennis balls and they start pelting this kid with them. and then they start a 2-word chant. Fat shit.
Oh, no.
Fat shit. And just back and forth and back and forth. Oh my God. And so most of these were in good taste, but like, Sam Perkins, they would have big paper mache arms and Frankenstein bolts in their head to be Perkins with his big long arms. Like
the
stuff
flat
like
top
that.
did not help Sam back in the day. Now we know why he had dreads in Seattle.
Yeah. And there was a guy who was convicted of an assault at a convenience store over some candy. He was trying to rob some candy, so they were throwing hard candy on the floor when they were warming up. So
by the way, those guys, even though nobody was on social media then, but like those guys in the 80s, like there was a lot of material to work with. Like college basketball in the 80s, it was just like the forefront of like young people kind of being in this limelight. And there was fodder for a lot of missteps, right? Like it was just was. Man. Yeah.
The other night, by the way, real quick, because I know we're kind of getting off the rails.
Yeah.
But BU and BC, they absolutely hate each other, and you get
the
these,
bean pot.
Yeah, so it's hockey, so there's already a lot of testosterone being flown around. 17,000 people punching out the Garden, and it's like an 8:00 puck drop. So these kids have all day to get lubed up. Nobody's driving there. You're taking the train to get there, and so it unleashes, man. And it's usually FBU, FBC, a lot of that. But apparently there was a former BU dean who was in the Epstein files, and there was like at least 5 or 6 different Epstein files chants going on. And another thing the BC fans would do is they do it on like Reddit and stuff of like, hey, just so you guys know, like BU and Northeastern as the game before us. So remember, it's going to smell bad in the garden. Like he's like, if you don't bring your mask, you can ask the BU students to give you their extras. And there was some like, we can smell you kind of chant coming from the other side. One time a couple years ago, last one, I promise, last one. But a couple years ago, BC fans would chant BU football because BU gave up football, 30, 40 years ago. Yeah. And then the BU fans would come back with what I think is just as funny of BC basketball, just to throw it back at them. So anyway, I miss a good, like, there's not many games you can go to anymore, like that are charged up to good student sections there. That's mainly a high school thing.
Yeah, no. And I remember, I was talking to a buddy of mine, the guy, Steve Turnberger, I had dinner with the other night, the ESPN director. He's from Newcastle, Delaware, or Wilmington. And we were talking about the Big Five and the Palestra and how you will go to those double headers, and there's, 4 different schools there at any given time. And like the streamers are flying and the chants are one side, the other, like that's gone, dude.
Yeah.
It's gone. And you won't even get it in the NCAA tournament or a conference tournament because we've gone so corporate. In a perfect world, everybody that's in their seats down on those lower levels are paying a lot of money. And that brings me, all right, Kim, you can go away now because I'm going to go on a rant. I don't want you to have to be associated with this. That brings me to something that is like such a bummer. And I'm going to say this, and then we'll get to Doug McNamee. I wanted to do maybe a little Nancy Guthrie stuff. Maybe I'll do that after this. But the NBA is right now, and we're all prisoners of the moment, right? But like we're coming up on All-Star Weekend, which I can promise you will get negative backlash. It just, no matter what happens, right? Like unless they literally walk Nancy Guthrie to mid-court at the All-Star game and announce that she has been found and rescued, like by LeBron James and Victor Wembanyama, like that's probably the only thing that could like rescue the NBA and All-Star Weekend, right? So we know that that's coming, but leading up to it, and Mad Dog Russo says he had a tremendous rant yesterday. Found it on Twitter. He talked about how, and I feel like this too. He talked about how in November of 2017, this is Chris Russo. He goes to work. He's very sick. He's like dying. He does High Heat, the MLB show he used to host in November. Then he crawls into the studio at Sirius to do a 3-hour show. He's like dying. He does a monologue. He's like, I can't go on. They take him to the hospital. His appendix is ruptured. And they do like 3 hours of surgery and he's in the hospital, stuff that happens to people. But then he compared it to a guy in the NBA. I forget the guy who it was, but like who took the fourth quarter off because he needed rest. This guy making $50 million a year. Like that is, and when you really put it out there like that, it makes the sport so unrelatable. So flash forward to last night, Spurs, Lakers. And you saw it on I saw it on my timeline. I saw it on, I checked the box scores at night. And if you checked them clearly enough, it was very clear what was going on. Victor Wembanyama had 40 points in 26 minutes last night. He had 37 points in the first half. Victor Wembanyama is amazing, right? And the Spurs, beat the brakes off the Lakers, 138 to I think 106 was the final score. 136 to 108. I have it right here. Wemby scored 46 points in 26 minutes. It was the 5th time since the shot clock era was instituted, the 5th time, and that was, I think, 1965, that a player has scored 40 points in 26 minutes or less. Now, let's talk about who he was playing against. Leading the charge for the Lakers last night, Drew Timme, okay, and Luke Kennard. Hand to God, I'm going to be honest, I don't know who Luke Kennard is. I should, but I don't know who he is, okay? So you have that, right? Sitting for the Lakers, LeBron James, DeAndre Ayton, or who else? Luka, Austin Reeves, and Marcus Smart. Like that's their whole starting lineup. And so, like, LeBron's 41. Everybody has a reason. I'm not here to say like those guys aren't hurt a little bit, but there is something going on, something shaking out in the NBA that is like that if they're not careful, it's becoming unforgivable. It truly is. Like, we're watching this sport before our eyes slowly just kind of, and not college basketball, even with the Darren Peterson stuff, guys. I'll be honest with you, not because the head of the snake in the NBA are the coaches and GMs. Like, they're the ones that are co-signing on all this. In college basketball, these coaches do not want these guys to sit. And it's kind of a wrestling match, as we saw illustrated by a buddy of mine who does talent stats in Kansas, where he was caught texting buddies about Darren Peterson's availability. And it became very clear, at least to this allegation, that Bill Self was like, dude, if you're going to half-ass it, I don't want you to play. And Darren Peterson was like, F it, I'm not playing. So I don't really look at college basketball and say, okay, like that, they have the same problem. They have other problems, but like, it's very clear, like people love college hoops still, right? Like the NBA, I feel like we are watching it deteriorate before our eyes. And the league will always point at how fruitful it is for them with these television contracts. And it is. It's a money train. No one is denying that. But like, there are situations where you still make a ton of dough and you're a fraudster, right? Like, look all around, right? I'm not going to get political or social, but just like go ahead and Google some stuff, okay? Like the NBA needs to be careful. They're losing goodwill with Americans and with basketball fans globally. Forget about Americans. People work hard all over the planet, and the NBA is a global sport. I called a game in Provo this year. My defibrillator went off 2 hours before the game. I felt like I got kicked in the chest by a mule. I'm not saying this was smart or this is what I should have done, right? I called the game, flew back to Texas, and went right to the hospital. At which point they told me Boston Scientific screwed up, and my device had an internal flaw where it went into safety mode. And I'm not making $50 million. All I'm saying is, like, there's a lot of people out there in America that are scared about losing their jobs and really want to perform because they've worked so hard to get places. And like in the NBA, I understand leverage and I understand power, but I also understand fair and like a connection to the general public who you are trying to serve, the fan base. There is very little connection now from the NBA to the average fan. And you can't say that with football because that's the other end of the scale. Like those guys are out there on they have a death wish, you could say. And maybe that's why football is celebrated like it is, because these guys are gladiators. And, again, maybe that's an overcorrection, but there's something happening with the NBA that needs to be, they got to figure out what the hell is going on. Because if they don't, I'm not saying it's going to be like prize fighting or horse racing, but maybe it'll be like baseball, the NBA, from competition to entertainment. This is what the great Chris Visser hits us with right there. Look at this. To know that Visser is even watching is great. Now, Cam, I want to put you on to something real quick. I'm hearing scuttlebutt, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow on Inside the 12. There's a major announcement that has been made by the Big 12. Do you have that?
No, I don't. But it's okay. It has to do with the conference tournament, right?
Well, here's the thing. Our guys
celebritizing, and what was the words that your Mark was using? We want to celebritize this thing.
Okay. So this is it. Scotty B, we're going to look this up. So the Big 12 Conference and ASB Glass Floor, that's obviously a flooring company, introduced a state-of-the-art full LED video sports floor that will debut at the 2026 Phillips 66 Big 12 men's and women's basketball tournaments. Yo. Now, can I tell you, that is not, and Brett Yormark's an NBA guy, but he was an NBA guy at the right time. That is so clever. And this is why the Big 12, when you look, the Big 12 could have gone the way of the Pac-12. It was this close, dude. Bob Bowlesby, the commissioner at the time, was asleep at the wheel, and it was going down. The ship was going down. And Brett Yormark was appointed commissioner, and everything changed. Like, we have I get to call these Big 12 games, right? I have Kansas and Oklahoma State next Wednesday at Oklahoma State. I cannot wait, right? it is a different league. The players are better. The crowds are better. And this year, they're probably going to get 7, maybe 8 teams into the NCAA tournament. The SEC is down. I don't believe there's any question what the best conference in basketball is. Last night, if you watch that Baylor BYU game, it was a shootout. And this is a subpar Baylor team this year. That was a wildly entertaining game with you have potentially had 4 first-round picks on the floor for most of the game, right? Tunde played 40, almost all the game. Tunde Yesufu played 40. Devonsa played 40. Rob Wright played 40 minutes. And I'm sure Cam Carr played about 36, right? Cam, what do you got? Cam Stewart's looking feisty down there. Anything?
Yeah, just getting the video that they put out. Have that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
All right, so Cam's going to get that video going for you. But I will say that what has transpired in the Big 12, I mean, and it wasn't necessarily a Hail Mary. It was a calculated move to bring Brett Yormark in. And, and the Big 12 is the perfect mix of, we're about to toss to an interview with Baylor Athletic Director Doug McNamee. And Doug brings a hometown feel and a hometown flavor. And at the grassroots school level, that's tremendous, right? And Doug is also a big thinker. And he's also a businessman. And he's also accomplished in both fields of athletics and business. But when you look at like the head of the snake for the Big 12, to have someone like Brett Yormark, who the guy's New York City through and through. His wife owns one of the most successful restaurants in New York. Like, they get it, dude. They know how to make stuff work. He moved and I've said this on the show before. I bumped into Yormark in the hallway before I was calling Houston's opening football game. And I did PR in the NBA years ago. But that was the time when he was with the Nets, and they took the Nets from New Jersey to Brooklyn, which was something that was very hard to fathom for anybody in that general New York City area, right? And I said to him, I was like, dude, and it was like, I work for the guy, right? But I was like, you took the Nets from East Rutherford to Brooklyn, and you're doing the same thing with the Big 12. Like, and this is a move where, Cam, do we have the video? Let's take a look.
Yep.
So
So we got a video here. There's just no sound to it, but it's showing you kind of how this court's looking.
Excellent work, Cam. Let's take a look. So this is, wow. So this is the floor. Okay. And there's more about this this is developing breaking news. There's details on this that we just don't have. Play it one more time, Cam. Leave that going. Play it one more time. Thank you. So that is, if you're just joining us, this is a flooring company, a flooring glass company, and the Big 12 have combined. We'll give Scotty B the credit. ASB Glass Floors. They have introduced a state-of-the-art, fully LED. Let me get this. Sorry, guys. Fully LED video sports floor that will debut at the 2026 Phillips 66 Big 12 men's and women's basketball tournaments. Look, people are going to hate on it because it's different. Cam Stewart, is this one more question? And then I'm going to talk a little Nancy Guthrie, and then we'll go to Doug McNamee. Now, is that on a scale of the 1996 NHL All-Star game, turning the puck into like a glowing circle, if that's 0, and let's say the NFL on Fox introducing what is now known as the Fox Box, a score bug that stays on the entire game, which, by the way, until Fox took over the NFL, that big contract in 1995, that was not done before. In 94, they took over. Where is it? If that's a 10 and the puck is a 0, where's this floor?
For me, I don't know, like a 4. Like it's fine. I think it looks cool. I don't know how it enhances my viewing experience like a Fox box does. And we've obviously seen kind of like, green screen LED digital stuff in the last couple of years. I know hockey uses it a lot to put more and different advertisements around the boards as you're watching the game. We see it with baseball behind home plate, the green screen advertisements. But for this, it's nice. It's cool. I think it's going to look cool. But I don't know how much it's going to enhance my viewing experience. But then again, the glowing puck, which they thought was really going to be successful, was not for people like me. So,
yeah. All right, that's good. That's a good take. I would put it at a 7. All right, I'm putting it as a 7.
I'm interested. Yeah. Why you like it?
I like it because I like how the schools are affiliated with it. It's not an advertisement. If it sucks, they can let it go quickly. I do feel like it's almost like a trial thing. It's not something that is permanent. If you remember last year, the court kind of looked like a Louis Vuitton bag, and that got a lot of pushback, like this stinks.
Yeah.
So it's a quick pivot, and I think it lets you know that, this is an innovative league where, like if it doesn't work, they won't do it again. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's here forever, or so let's have some fun.
Yeah, like did they do a lot of the WWE stuff at the football game this year? I know that's been the last couple of years. They were supposed
to. They what they did. I don't know what they did at the championship per se because I wasn't there, but I can tell you they did. Like I know they had a Cincinnati football game on a Saturday, and they would have a WWE event on a Friday night. That I know that was a new wrinkle.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's still. So and I do want to. I'm going to chat with my boy Ari Temkin because Ari is on Big 12 today with James Wesley, and I love those guys. They do a tremendous job. But Ari was saying, I'm going to say it, Ari overshot the mark. He knew what this was, and I thought that you would have thought they would have had a Tupac hologram, rapping at halftime. Like it's not quite that, but it is still impressive, still very impressive. All right, Nancy Guthrie. I mentioned her tongue in cheek talking about the All-Star game. I actually thought that was pretty funny. I may actually clip that and put it up, but let's talk about Nancy Guthrie. This is like a horrible situation. Last night, Christy and I actually, and props to YouTube, you know what you're doing. We had finished watching the Baylor game, or I finished watching the Baylor game, and I said, "Yeah, you again, unlike the NBA, I know my audience." So I played to Christy. I'm like, "Hey, murder mystery time. Like, well, let's get an update on Nancy Guthrie. Like, that's something we're both interested in." So I go to YouTube. First thing they have up on YouTube is a 3 months ago, Savannah Guthrie went back home to Tucson, and it was a feature on the Today Show. And YouTube has that. It's like the first thing that comes up. And I'm like, we got to watch this because, she goes home. First of all, I've said this before about Savannah Guthrie. She is as cool as they come. Now, full disclosure, I don't know her. So that could be a rubbish statement. I met her for like 2 minutes. She was promoting her book at the DFW airport outside of whatever bookstore is there in like Terminal A, outside gate A21, like with schmucks like me just walking up to her. She was sitting at a table at the airport. Now, yeah, you could say, well, that's part of her desire to sell the book, but like she's really famous. Like to parachute into like Gen Pop like that just said so much about her to me. And then I'll do the, I did a nice thing. You're not supposed to share when you do nice things, but Megan Boyd, who I work with at the time, I was in TV news. I was there. I was calling a game, but this is when I was doing both. Megan Boyd loved Savannah Guthrie. So I bought Savannah's book and talk. If you were going to actually chat with her, you had to buy a book, and she signed it for me. And I said, "Hey, can you make it for Megan?" She just couldn't have been any cooler. Just legit a regular gal. And so that makes this kind of tough because we can all connect with her. Again, there's a connection there. I'm sorry for people that I understand there's people that go missing every day. And I understand that Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, but this is one of the most compelling crimes we have laid witness to in a very long time, right? I'm not, a true crime expert. I fancy myself as one, but I know I'm not. But this is up there. Somebody compared it to the Lindbergh baby. That's like how wild this story is. And I know this is getting more shine maybe than it should, but we have to understand, like, this is how we connect to people. And this is someone who a lot of people have connected with for decades in Savannah Guthrie. So this hits close to home. It just does. It just the same way like the Bill Cosby scandal and the OJ scandal hits home in a negative way, because these are people who we welcomed into our living rooms for decades as well. Right. And you feel like you're akin to these people. So that in itself has everybody on the edge of their seats. And then this footage comes out last night. The pictures, there's 4 black and white photos. There's also video that came out of this brazen criminal. And this person will get caught now eventually. And I hope they burn him at the stake. But it's going to take a minute, I think, to find him, but the person's getting caught. And I do think the person, if we're really going to handicap this as like a crime and how well they did, the fact that like 10 days later, there's still nobody has any 11 days now. Nobody has any news or like, as far as we know, like who did this? Where is Nancy Guthrie? Like the person grades out pretty high already. I mean, I can't believe it lasted this long. Like if you talk about crimes now, let's talk about the bonehead moves. Like it's clearly wasn't, Savannah Guthrie's family, when they saw these images and videos, they said, we don't know this person. It's not somebody we know. So there's a lot of folks around that were saying, hey, it could be her, Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law. And then there's crazy. I mean, God bless Megyn Kelly. I used to check her out sometimes. We are drifting, dude. I mean, like I've tapped into some of her stuff on this, and it's out there. And people talking about cartels and border, blah, 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 like I don't buy that, but I think that this guy screwed up. I mean, the number one screw up, and it says to me that this guy did not know the family. He had obviously staked out the home, but like he shows up at the front entryway, and he has nothing for the camera. The guy is suited and booted like he is about to go into battle, right? Like you can't see anything on his skin outside of what is left by the little holes in the mask so he could see. And then, nothing else is even visible at all. So this guy's leaving no DNA and making it tough to identify himself if he comes across the camera. But he's got nothing to cover the camera up. You guys have seen it by now. If you're still watching this, you're interested. He goes and gets some brush and puts it up against the camera like, bro, give me a can of spray paint and duct tape. I could have helped you out there. Now, and I was thinking about it this morning before the show. I was like, is that just like a huge screw up? Like, did that guy forget the duct tape? Like, seriously, he's a human being who's working by himself. Did he show up and he was like, oh my God, I forgot the duct tape. I don't what am I going to do? I'm here, I'm there. He like backs off. He looks pretty unsure of himself, as prepared as he is. One of the experts on NBC this morning mentioned that this is a guy who has a huge, oversized ego. And I found that interesting. I was like, that probably checks out. And the search continues. But the fact that the family didn't recognize him, which I think they would have said they did, and I think there would have been swift judgment. The fact that, and this shows, imagine like when you call a company and you need something, and you're on hold and you're pissed, right? And you don't understand how in 2026 this can be happening to you. Think about this investigation. That camera footage took damn near 8 to 9 days to get exposed and shared because, I mean, the FBI had to work with the private sector being Google. Google owns the company that owns the camera. It took them a while to get to this footage, which is kind of mind-numbing, but it's also impressive in a sense where like everything is somewhere. Like it's not like because none of that stuff was supposedly saved, but like everything's on a backup somewhere. It just takes a minute to get there. It's a fascinating crime. It's obviously very sad, but like I am, like the rest of America, I'm pretty interested. Like when I was flying from the Super Bowl to Omaha for basketball, I was watching an update, and this never happens. I was watching an update on the plane, and a guy looks over. He's like, "They haven't found her yet, huh?" I'm like, "No," and then I turned the volume up slightly so he can watch the report that I'm watching, and there's 2 other people watching my screen. By the way, I'm like, "Hey guys, why don't you tap into the free Wi-Fi and go on your own?" But okay, everybody's watching my crummy laptop, and they're like glued to this. Like America is like beyond invested, as we know, and it sucks. And I hope they find him. you know, I know she's going through, like, I can't imagine what she's going through, right? I mean, it's not for me to say, but I'm totally fascinated by that. All right, so Cam, anything else before we throw to Doug McNamee?
That's it from me, brother.
I think we had a hell of a show today, by the way. I mean, you're tremendous, by the way, as someone to bounce. No, besides the fact that we don't know if the show's on Twitter or not, which we can work on that.
Well, it's I guess it's not doing a post anymore, but you are live on Twitter. Like I can click on your profile.
Because if I put a little bit of money to promote that, that's like, you know, getting it out. We can get 5,000 views out of that because this show's good. So we got to figure that out, which we will. The Pete Sousa Show rolls on tomorrow. But forget that. Stay with us. We're taking a 1 minute break, right? 2 minutes, whatever Cam wants to do. And then we've got Doug McNamee coming up. And obviously we'll post clips from this show onto YouTube where you can watch it. We remain live on 365 Sports and the Pete Sousa Show channel. We're presented by Slovacics. We're presented by Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers. We're presented by We're presented by Slovacics. We have Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Socorro Family Ford, First National Bank of Central Texas, Crawford Austin Properties. So happy everybody's a part of this with us. Doug McNamee coming up after this break.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at GEVI.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit OpenGOAAALUSA.com and elevate your training today.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at Bill.com.
Stability.
I'd like to welcome in a man of this ilk. I usually would never keep waiting, but Doug McNamee is a man of that ilk, and he's such a patient man. I was leaving the cardiologist, probably scheduled a lot of stuff too close together. And Doug, I don't know if you'll appreciate this or not. We've all been, or I can remember my mom taking me to school in the morning, maybe being a little bit late. And, I knew this was going to be on camera. Sure. So at the stoplights, I was actually doing a little makeup. I mean, that was pretty good. And I have to give all the moms and, all the women out there credit for that. That's a tough task. I hope nothing that you've ever had to try to accomplish.
No. Well, first of all, you're always excused for being late for a doctor appointment, especially that severity. And I think I've got a face for audio podcast only. So you're already ahead of me in that regard.
Well, I'd like to welcome you officially, right, to town. I don't need to welcome you. You've been here. You are part of the fiber that makes up this community. And that's where I wanted to start. You have such great experience being here in this community. You have great experience at Baylor, but never in a job with this much responsibility. You have made it look easy so far, Doug. What's been the most, you truly have, but what's been the most difficult part for you?
Well, I'm undefeated in football so far. So that's why it looks easy right now. But I mean, as far as what has been you asked what's been the easiest, Pete, I would just say the reconnection with the Baylor constituency, getting to re-engage with people that you grew up professionally, getting to know. The donor part is the natural part. The donors part is just like when I'm in between, meetings, I just have a list of people I want to call and reach out to and connect with. And that kind of just feels like, you're reconnecting with old friends. And that's the part that, I really enjoy, and it comes natural to me. So that feels natural. That's just, I've got a job excuse now to reach out to people that I would already prefer to reach out to see how they're doing in general. That has definitely been, just something that's a gift. I would say is the easiest part of this job for sure.
How about the hardest part? You've made it look easy, but what's been the most difficult part?
Yeah, I mean, the NIL piece is, it's hard to put into words. I mean, I tell folks like my previous life with the most recent job was, manufacturing overseas, a big component of it. And we dealt with the world of tariffs and trying to figure out, hey, we'll be in this market in this country, and we'll have a potential, this is the cost impact. And then, the next day you look up, there was a different tariff that was placed there. And so it was always just a constant moving target as it related to just the rules and that, tariffs ultimately dictating the rules of how you determine price. And that's the challenge that exists here. It's just such a moving conversation for a variety of different reasons. And so you're wanting to forecast a couple years off to try to plan and anticipate, and you find yourself like 2 or 3 weeks off, not knowing. I mean, we just wrapped the football portal, and we're now focusing on the spring portal for basketball in April, and we're trying to formulate a plan as it talks about retention of current student athletes, and then the pursuit of new student athletes in the portal, and you just don't know what the dynamics will be, and candidly what the market is in terms of what those players will be meriting from a rev share standpoint. So it's so hard to formulate a strategy when you really don't have an idea of what the larger macro conditions are associated with when you go to the market. And that's definitely present for what we're dealing with right now.
Well, you mentioned revenue. We do know that is going to be a huge part of however we move forward. Yeah. I really appreciated when you met the media, right? I mean, you've met everybody here, but you officially meet the media in your first appointment as AD. And I thought you did a masterful job of sort of mentioning how Baylor was in a really unique situation as far as the Baptist school in a Power 4, right? It's an opportunity for us, or for the school, I should say, to kind of sink in and wrap its arms around all that faith-based community will bring you. And I say that on the day we're playing BYU.
Sure.
I've gotten a lot of opportunities to call games out in Provo. The community there just it's on fire for BYU, and around the country there is a lot of money and resources coming in. How can you tap into the faith and the Baylor mission, but also maybe similar to what BYU is doing? You keep the mission going, but you also get a revenue stream coming from that mission that helps everyone celebrate the faith.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pete, you've been out in Provo, you spoke of it. Like, they understand the opportunity and they rally and create a really special athletic program and an environment. And, they can do it, and they do it in the purpose of spreading the LDS faith is their objective. And so there's no doubt there's probably a greater awareness associated with BYU because of their success athletic program. I think Tech is another great example. Without having the exacts in front of me, I guarantee you the admissions office at Tech has never been busier, in terms of attention and people that are interested in Texas Tech. And so, as we look at Baylor, I think you have to, with any business, you kind of say, hey, what's our strengths, our weaknesses? Where do we have advantages that are not easily replicable? And I think we, not because it's just I have to find something, but I think it genuinely is present where we have a defensible characteristic in that unique aspect of exceptional academics at the highest level of athletics, with a authentic faith component in the Protestant faith. It is a one of one in that regard, and I think that we won't appeal to everyone. First of all, we need to understand that we'll never win everyone into our side of the equation of interest, but I think for those that are looking for that, we provide an experience that there's an especially strong draw associated with it. We've got disadvantages. We're smaller on alumni size. And when you're talking about NIL and you're talking about fundraising, numbers game is true. You want to have as many possible options as you can. And so I'd say, hey, we've got a lot more responsibility to ensure that the ones we do engage with count. And we just can't afford to have what I would say is a bifurcated, splintered constituency. We gotta all be clicking in the right direction, because we can't afford to lose key folks that are potential supporters and facilitators for us. And so we've got to do our job really well. But if we understand what makes us unique and we understand what gives us competitive advantage, and we lean into that, I think we not only have a seat at the table at the highest level, but I think we attract, in some circumstances, individuals, businesses, causes that there's nowhere else there for them to align with, but with us.
Is there anything, and I'm not, there's only so much a guy like you in your position can share, but are there any, big Fortune 500 companies that you guys are looking to maybe affiliate with or work together, like a Hobby Lobby or Chick-fil-A that share the same mission?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it would be as much of a company per se, especially for these, publicly traded companies. There really is going to be a very scrutinized application in terms of what marketing dollars look like, especially with the polarizing nature of NIL. So I don't know if it's as much of a company or it's sometimes the individuals and the causes that are behind those companies. Because a lot of times, some of the ones you mentioned are privately held, and they're held by families that have a very, I would say, focused attention on supporting initiatives that align with their priorities and the causes of which they support and believe in. And in our particular case, it's that unapologetically Christian environment. And there is initiatives, and I would say there's funding that is available for causes and for entities that are furthering that mission of promoting a kingdom message. And so I don't know if it's as much company focus, Pete, as I would say it's individual focused behind a lot of the companies that you kind of alluded to.
That's so. I appreciate that. That gives me that gives me a lot of really good intel there on where we're going with this.
Yep.
The football side of it, obviously, that's the monster, right? Mm-hmm. And me being a football guy, and I'm not. I would never hide this anyways, but I'm certainly not going to hide it from you. I've always been a big Dave supporter, even when the times have been the toughest. And, obviously it wasn't widely the most popular deal in the world to hold serve, but Baylor was in the midst of a situation pretty much unlike any other at that point in time.
Yeah.
What do you say to the football fan now? I mean, DJ Lagway excites me, and a brand new season with the clean slate excites me playing in the Big 12. But what do you say to the football fan, that gives me a hard time, that says I'm too positive? Like, what do you say to the people that are on the fence or, might be throwing some stones?
Yeah, I mean, I think we will have a lot of excitement and momentum going into the season. I think that there's been a lot of work done this offseason to give us the opportunity to be successful. I think we've done a good job in the portal. I think Coach has done a great job, with the staff. We've had some moving parts associated with it, but I think the outcome will be really strong. And I think we have a schedule where we can build some momentum and have some great opportunity. First game at Auburn. What a great opportunity. New coaching staff over there playing in an NFL stadium. To me, that's just a huge opportunity for us. And so, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I think we will come into our season with hope and optimism. I believe in that. I think some of the portal ads, DJ's a great kid, and the story behind that legacy kid, coming home to play where his dad played. And he's a player. I mean, I spent a couple minutes with Coach Aranda this weekend just talking about him watching DJ sling the ball, and he just said the technique and the skills there are special. And so there's a high upside, and I think we're going to walk into the season with a lot of hope and optimism. And what I tell our fans is we will leave the 2026 season with hope and optimism. What that looks like, I have no idea, and I'm very optimistic it will include a lot of success for this program, and it will put us in a position where we're one good offseason away from really reaching, I think, the heights of where we want to be long term, because I think that's going to be necessary to ensure that we've got the right coalition built to help get there. But I'm bullish on this year for a variety of different reasons, and I think that we'll end in a really good spot for where we can all be excited and optimistic about the future.
Yeah, the Lagway thing, it was kind of quieted some of the naysayers, and it got me even more excited, which is pretty cool. A couple more for you. I don't want to keep you too long. You have, you're not a hired gun. So often we see in athletic directors someone who's been successful at the Power 4 level or somewhere else gets brought in. Almost like we're dealing with the transfer portal or the NIL era. That is not you. A two-time graduate of Baylor, somebody who's worked at the university before, deep ties to the community and the school. How has that been advantageous for you? I know you mentioned the donor side off the top, but what else has been something that you've been able to connect to because of your experience in this environment?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm a product of what this institution's about. It's an educational institution. I'm a two-time graduate of the university, and so when that means I go to speak to faculty or I speak to the deans, I can tell them I personally have benefited from the blessings of this university and the education of this university. So I can speak from a personal consumer perspective in terms of the impact and what the university can mean in terms of educational development, but just overall character development as well too. And I just say this is the job for me in college athletics, and that. Sure, people can look at that in a double-edged capacity, like, hey, this guy's complacent, or he's not aspirational. He doesn't want to experience, try to do his job in a certain way that makes him attractive to go to other places. But I flip it and just say, hey, I understand the unique value that exists here. And this is the only job that would have pulled me out of what I was previously doing. This is the only institution that would pull me out. This is a complex industry. And I am doing it because I believe in the opportunity at Baylor, and I think that I'm hopefully uniquely given life experience, prepared to be able to support the university in a really beneficial way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing the job, and I wouldn't be chasing a job at another institution. I believe in Baylor's mission and what it can uniquely offer in this moment at this time, and I'm excited and bullish about our opportunity to have an impact. And I think there are certainly changes that we can make that will put us in the right position. There's been a lot that's been done that we can build upon. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the university, and what I believe in is the unique offering that it provides that I personally have experienced. And I genuinely say this, like it's given so much to me personally, so many relationships. I know my wife because of Baylor. I know so many of my dear friends are because of Baylor. My ties, my memories of my parents are because and tied to Baylor. And so it is a chance for me to reciprocate the giving that this university has given to me. And it's what motivates me. I want to do a great job for the university because it's just my DNA, but I also want to do a great job because I have so many friends and family that Baylor is it's central for us, and I want to give them something to be really proud of and excited of. And so that's what motivates me every day and what drives me. And it's certainly the honor of a lifetime.
And you were a manager on the basketball side, like you have that. I don't know. I look for stuff like that, right? When I'm getting behind a school or an athletic director, you've been at ground zero. How has that helped you as far as moving forward in your mission now?
Yeah. Well, I joke with Scott. I put a picture up on the screen at our all staff meeting, and it was me as a manager on the 2001 team. And I was like, this wasn't Scott's team because there was only 3 managers at the time, and now there's like 30 back there. So I was like, I wasn't a manager for Coach Drew, but I could tell you that was at a time. The good news is there wasn't a whole lot. So we did a lot. I mean, we did a lot of the grunt work, washed a lot of uniforms back in my day. But it was a small enough team where I got to get a very up close personal view of a program, and that is formative for me. So I understand what life in an actual program is like. I understand what these guys are going through on the program level. And then when I was in grad school, I worked as a GA for baseball, but what paid for my school, I was a GA in the student athlete academic side of the equation. So I got to see, what academic side of an athletic department is. And then obviously after that, migrated into corporate sales and on the ISP and MMR side of the equation. But those were so formative. And that time with basketball to be up and close and personal, with the program that ultimately was not led in the way that it needed to be, and such the need for Coach Drew to come and make the impact that he had, but learned so many lessons in that tenure, and just had a great opportunity to understand the complexities of travel and student athlete welfare and understanding all the personalities that are associated with it. But that was a special time, a formative time, and something that I certainly have learned and take a lot from even today.
No, you didn't skip any steps. That's for sure. And that's why I love seeing somebody like you reach this mountaintop. Last question. Doesn't apply to me. I haven't drank in 15 years. Okay. I'm a sober guy. People ask about the beer at McLean Stadium, and it's like, hey, this could be I don't even know. I don't know how powerful of a revenue resource it could be. Can you fill me in on is there an update on that possibly happening? And if it was to happen, why is that such a big deal? Why are people so stuck on this as far as the finances? Because people will hide behind that. Not hide behind it, but they'll say, we need it for revenue. Some people just want to have a beer or two, which is fine. That's all good too. But give us a little context to this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very consequential decision for a university, that has not had it at any venue in its history. And to be clear, there's other Big 12 schools besides Baylor and BYU. Iowa State doesn't have alcohol in their venues either. So it's not like it's prevalent everywhere. That being said, the economics of the circumstance requires evaluation, and it requires diligence to understand what the impact is. And then this is a top level decision that needs to analyze it and make an ultimate decision. I think certainly, like there is a lot of times the economics, there's numbers that are thrown out that are rarely probably accurate to reflect what the real circumstances are. So I think you're making sure you really drill in that and understand what the economic impact is. And then there has to be a greater analysis of, okay, what is the risk associated with this, and what is the university's relationship, and how do we weigh it out? And there's a lot of emotion associated with it. I get it. And I being someone who's been at these for a long time, I understand. I'm very, very reverent for the decision that needs to be provided. I can tell you, my previous life, we had, with the brand I work with, we had a relationship with a large beer manufacturer. So I've worked in the past, directly in a partnership capacity with that. And so I understand economics from a personal perspective in terms of how it hits the bottom line. But we got to be very respectful of the history and balance all perspectives in this conversation. I just say at this point, it continues to be something that we're trying to do our due diligence to study and understand, and then ultimately be respectful of the decision that's made from a higher perspective.
Hey, Doug, man, very respectful of your time. I really appreciate you sharing some time with us and the intel and the transparency. It's important, and I appreciate it. So
let's do it again, man. Pete, I enjoy when you call games. I have for a long time. Listening. I'll be honest with you, I'm a little sad because you've gotten promoted up, so we don't get you as much on the plus games. I feel like you've gone big time on us, and we miss you. But it's awesome. Like you and King and some of the other guys, we got pros that are bouncing around at the top level. So congrats on your
I have said that to King. King is so grateful to John Morris, to David Kay, as I am to John Morris, to Brent. I mean, to David Kay. So
you've earned it, man. It's awesome to get a game and it be a national game and get to hear you and other guys like you and King and those guys. But we do miss you down on the third tier games and always good when we catch you. I think we got one coming up pretty soon. You're on for us, right? We got
I'm on for Utah and Baylor, right? At Foster on March 7th. And Chris Humphreys has my phone number. I'm available for that.
He probably like, we can't afford him anymore. He's kind of big time. We got to leave Pete alone. He's got the big mothership calling him.
That's not
he won't pick up our call. I get it.
Yeah, right. All right, Doug, man. Thank you so much.
Hey,
I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks,
all right, bro.
See you, buddy.
Take care.
Bye.
Doug McNamee. How about that? See, it's always dangerous because he's so cool. Now I get to know this guy, and I'm going to even be more supportive of Baylor. And then people give me a hard time for that. Well, that's just how it's going to be. All right, the Pete Sousa Show, presented by Slovacics. We got Andrew. We got him off the Turf Club, and we got him now at the big table. So this is perfect. I got Andrew Mobile over here, who's at the Turf Club earlier. He'll probably be back there later on. The Turf Club, by the way, is a section of 365 Sports. There's a couple of television sets. There is turf. There's beautiful television. Now, when Andrew's over there, he's doing work, but I do think he likes the turf over there a lot. All right, we're presented by Slovacics. We'll be back after that.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me, and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Sports.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.